2 years ago, I made the stupidest decision of my pigeon racing career. I spent $12,000 buying 5 champion birds from Belgium. 5 birds with perfect genetics. National winners. Ace bird bloodlines. I thought I was buying guaranteed success. I thought expensive genetics equals winning races. I was wrong. Those 5 expensive birds never won a single race for me. Not one. They placed middle of the pack every single time. Some races they didn't even make it into prizes. $12,000 wasted. But here's the crazy part. While my expensive Belgian champions were losing, a $20 stray bird I found injured on the side of the road beat them all. This random stray with 0 pedigree, unknown parents, probably came from someone's backyard coop. Won 7 races in 1 season. 7, my $12,000 birds won 0. That stray bird taught me the most expensive lesson of my racing career. Genetics don't win races. Management wins races. And today I'm going to tell you the whole story. Because if you're thinking about buying expensive birds, if you believe that spending more money gets you better results, you need to hear this before you waste your money like I did. Let me start at the beginning. 3 years ago, I was racing pigeons, seriously for about 5 years. I had decent results, nothing spectacular. I'd place in prizes maybe 40% of races. Occasional top 10 placement, never won a major race. I was frustrated. I was putting in the work, training my birds properly, feeding good quality feed, keeping clean loft, but I wasn't winning. I'd watch other fanciers win consistently, and I'd wonder what they had that I didn't. Then I went to a seminar about pigeon genetics. The speaker was this famous Belgian fancier. He'd won national races multiple times. He bred and sold birds for thousands of dollars. His whole presentation was about how genetics determine everything. He showed slide after slide of pedigrees. He explained how certain bloodlines produce speed, other bloodlines produce endurance, other bloodlines produce intelligence. He made it sound like a science, like if you just get the right genetics, you'll win. At the end of his presentation, he mentioned he had birds for sale, young birds from his champion breeding pairs. He said these birds carry the same genetics that won him national races. Price was $2,000 to $3,000 per bird, depending on the pairing. I was hooked. I thought this is what I've been missing. I've been racing average genetics. If I upgrade to champion genetics, I'll start winning. So I contacted him after the seminar, told him I wanted to buy his best young birds. He said he had 5 available from his top pairings. Total cost $12,000 including shipping from Belgium to the United States. That's a lot of money. That's more than I'd spent on pigeons in my entire 5 years of racing combined. But I convinced myself it was an investment. These aren't just birds. These are proven genetics. They'll win races and pay for themselves. Plus I can breed from them and sell their babies. This is smart business. So I sent $12,000 to Belgium. 6 weeks later, 5 young birds arrived at my door in a shipping crate. I was so excited. These birds were going to change everything. I set up special section in my loft just for them. I gave them the best nest boxes, the best perches. I fed them premium feed. I trained them carefully. I treated them like royalty because they cost $12,000, and they carried champion genetics. For the first few months, everything seemed fine. The birds were healthy. They trained well. Return times from training tosses were decent. Not exceptional, but decent. I told myself they're young. They're still learning. Wait until race season starts. Then race season started. First race, 150 kilometers. I basketed all 5 Belgian birds. I was confident. These are champions. They're going to dominate. Race day came. Birds were liberated. I waited at my loft for them to return. And I waited and waited. The first bird to arrive was not one of my Belgian champions. It was one of my regular birds. Old bird I'd had for 3 years. Cheap genetics. He trapped first. Then 2 more of my regular birds trapped. Then finally 1 Belgian bird arrived. 40th place out of 120 birds. Then another Belgian. 52nd place. Then another. 68th place. 2 of the 5 didn't return until next morning. They'd landed somewhere overnight. Out of 5 Belgian birds, best placement was 40th. My cheap regular birds placed better. I told myself it's just first race. They're nervous. They'll do better next race. Second race, 200 kilometers. Same thing. My regular birds placed top 30. My Belgian birds placed 50th, 65th, 79th, and 2 didn't finish. Third race, same pattern. Fourth race, same pattern. By mid-season it was clear. These expensive Belgian champions were not performing. They weren't even average. They were below average. And I had no idea why. They looked healthy. They ate well. I started researching. Maybe I was managing them wrong. Maybe Belgian birds need different feeding. Maybe different training. I tried everything. Different feed mixes. Different training distances. Different motivation systems. Nothing worked. These birds just would not race well. By end of first season, Those 5 birds had raced combined 30 times. 0 wins, 3 top 20 placements. Everything else was middle or bottom of pack. $12,000 for 0 wins. I was devastated. I felt like an idiot. I'd spent all that money based on genetics and pedigree, and it meant nothing. But I couldn't give up. I'd invested too much, so I kept them for year 2. I thought maybe they need more experience. Maybe year 2 they'll click. Year 2 was worse than year 1. Same mediocre results. One bird got sick mid-season and died. $11,000 bloodline dead from a respiratory infection. Another bird got lost in a race. Never came back. $10,000 gone. By end of year 2, I had 3 Belgian birds left. Still 0 race wins. Still mediocre placements. I was ready to quit. I'd wasted $12,000 in 2 years for nothing. Then something happened that changed my entire perspective. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I was driving home from work. I was on a back road going through farmland. I saw something on the side of the road ahead. As I got closer, I realized it was a pigeon. It was sitting on the gravel shoulder, not moving. I thought it was dead. But as I drove past, I saw it move slightly. I pulled over, got out, walked back to where the bird was. It was a young pigeon, maybe 6 months old, blue bar coloring. It had clearly been hit by a car or attacked by something. Its left wing was damaged, feathers bent and broken. It couldn't fly. It tried to walk away from me, but it was limping. I picked it up. It was skinny. Probably hadn't eaten in a day or 2. It didn't have a band, no identification, just a random stray pigeon. Could have come from anywhere. Someone's backyard coop. Could be feral. Could have been born in a barn somewhere. No way to know. I looked at this bird. It was injured, starving, no value. Normal person would leave it there. But I'm a pigeon guy. I can't leave an injured bird. So I took it home, brought it inside, put it in a cardboard box with a towel. I examined the wing damage. The bones weren't broken, but several flight feathers were damaged beyond repair. I thought this bird will never fly well, even if I fix it. But I fixed it anyway. I cleaned the wounds, applied antibiotic ointment, set up a recovery cage with food and water. Over the next week, the bird recovered, started eating well, put on weight. The wing healed, but the damaged feathers needed to molt out and regrow. That would take months. I named him Stray. Original, I know. I kept Stray in the recovery cage for 3 weeks, fed him, changed his water, let his wing heal completely. Then I moved him into my regular loft with my other birds. I didn't expect anything from him. He was just a rescue. I was doing the right thing, saving an injured bird. I didn't plan to race him. He had no pedigree, no genetics. He was just going to live in my loft and be a pet basically. But something interesting happened. Stray integrated into my flock immediately. He wasn't scared of the other birds. He wasn't submissive. He walked right into the feeding area and ate. He claimed a perch near the top of the pecking order. My other birds accepted him without problems. Within a week, Stray was acting like he'd been in my loft his whole life. His damaged wing feathers molted out. New feathers grew in. After 2 months, his wing was fully healed and fully feathered. He could fly normally. I started letting him out during loft flying time with my other birds. He flew with them, circled the loft. His flight looked good. Strong wing beats, good speed. No indication of permanent damage from the injury. I thought, you know what? Maybe I should train him, just for fun. See what this random stray can do. I had 0 expectations. This bird probably came from someone who kept pigeons in their backyard for fun. No racing genetics. No training. No pedigree. But I started training him anyway. First training toss, 5 kilometers. I took Stray and 5 other birds to the release point. Let them go. Stray circled a few times. Oriented, flew home. He was 3rd bird back out of 6. Not bad for first try. Second toss, 10 kilometers. Stray came back second. Third toss, 15 kilometers. Stray came back first. I was surprised. This random stray bird was training better than my expensive Belgian birds. I kept training him. 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers. Every toss Stray performed well. Usually first or second bird back. His returns were fast and direct. No excessive circling. No hesitation. He just flew straight home. I started getting excited. Maybe this bird can actually race. Race season was starting in 2 weeks. I decided to enter Stray in the first race, just to see what would happen. I didn't tell anyone he was a stray. I didn't tell anyone he had 0 pedigree. I just basketed him with my other birds and sent him to race. First race, 150 kilometers. Stray trapped 8th out of 120 birds. 8th place. My Belgian champion birds placed 47th, 63rd, and 82nd. A $20 Stray beat my $12,000 champions by 39 positions. I was shocked. I thought maybe it was luck. Maybe the race conditions favored his flying style. Maybe it was a fluke. Second race, 200 kilometers. Stray trapped 4th. 4th place out of 130 birds. My Belgian birds placed 58th and 79th. One didn't finish. Again, Stray destroyed them. This wasn't luck. Third race, Stray won. First place, beat 140 birds including my expensive champions. I stood at my loft watching Stray trap first, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This random injured bird I found on the side of the road for free just beat birds I paid $2,000 to $3,000 each for. How is that possible? Stray went on to win 7 races that season, 7 wins out of 12 races. He was club champion. He was nominated for regional ace bird. People were asking me about his pedigree. They wanted to know his bloodline. They wanted to buy his offspring. I had to explain, I don't know his pedigree. He's a stray. I found him injured on the road. No band, no identification, no known parents. People didn't believe me. They thought I was hiding his genetics to keep competitive advantage. But it was true. Stray had no pedigree, and he was beating everyone. Meanwhile, my 5 Belgian champions, the ones with perfect pedigrees and national winner bloodlines, combined for 0 wins that season. Same as previous 2 seasons. 3 years, 15 birds entered in races, 0 wins. But the stray, the rescue, the bird with no genetics, won 7 times. I started analyzing what was different about Stray. Why was he winning when my expensive birds weren't? At first I thought maybe he just has good natural genetics, even though we don't know his parents. Maybe he randomly inherited speed genes. But the more I watched Stray, the more I realized genetics wasn't the main factor. The difference was mentality. Stray had something my Belgian birds didn't have. He had hunger. He had drive. He had an edge. My Belgian birds were soft. They'd been bred in luxury Belgian lofts, fed the best feed, given the best care. They'd never struggled. They'd never had to fight for food. They'd never been injured or hungry or in danger. They were pampered from birth, and it showed in how they raced. When races got hard, when weather was tough, when they got tired, my Belgian birds gave up. They landed and waited for conditions to improve. They took the easy path. Stray was different. Stray had been injured, starving, surviving on the side of a road. He'd fought to stay alive. When race conditions were tough, Stray didn't quit. He pushed through. When he got tired, he kept flying. When winds were strong, he fought harder. He had mental toughness that my expensive birds lacked. This wasn't genetics. This was character. And you can't buy character with $12,000. I started researching other champion pigeons, reading about their backgrounds, and I found a pattern. Many famous champion birds had rough starts. Birds that were culls from breeding lofts and got rescued. Birds that were injured and recovered. Birds that came from poor conditions and thrived when given better care. These birds had something to prove. They had hunger. Meanwhile, the birds bred specifically to be champions, raised in luxury, often underperformed. They had the genetics but not the mindset. I realized I'd been approaching pigeon racing completely wrong. I'd been focused on genetics and pedigree, buying expensive birds with famous bloodlines. But I'd been neglecting management and conditioning. I'd been treating my Belgian birds like trophies, giving them luxury, protecting them from any challenge. I was trying to preserve their value instead of training them to win. Stray taught me that winning races isn't about genetics. It's about hunger. It's about mental toughness. It's about proper conditioning and management. A bird with average genetics but excellent management will beat a bird with excellent genetics but average management every single time. This was a $12,000 lesson, most expensive education I ever received. But it completely changed how I approach pigeon racing. After that season, I made major changes to my program. First, I stopped buying expensive birds. I stopped chasing famous bloodlines. I stopped believing that pedigree determined success. Instead, I focused on selecting birds based on performance and character. I started looking for birds that showed fight, birds that pushed through challenges, birds that didn't quit when things got hard. Second, I changed how I manage my birds. I stopped pampering them. I started conditioning them harder. Longer training tosses in less than perfect weather, building mental toughness through controlled adversity. I wanted birds that could handle anything race day threw at them. Third, I started breeding from stray. People thought I was crazy. Breeding from a bird with unknown genetics? What if his offspring are terrible? But I didn't care. Stray had proven himself. 7 wins, mental toughness, racing intelligence. Those traits matter more than pedigree. Stray's first babies were born 6 months later. I raised them the same way I'd managed Stray. No pampering, progressive training, building toughness. Those babies started racing the following season. Out of 6 babies, 4 became consistent winners. One won 3 races in his first season. Another won 5 races over 2 seasons. These birds had unknown genetics on their father's side. But they had Stray's mentality. They had fight. They performed better than my Belgian champions ever did. I sold 2 of Stray's offspring to other fanciers. Both buyers were skeptical about the unknown pedigree, but they'd seen Stray's results. One of those buyers called me 6 months later. He said Stray's son won his club championship. He couldn't believe it. A bird with unknown genetics beating birds with famous bloodlines. I told him the same thing I'm telling you now. Genetics matter less than you think. Management matters more than you realize. Let me be clear. I'm not saying genetics don't matter at all. Clearly there's genetic variation in pigeons. Some bloodlines produce faster birds on average. Some bloodlines produce birds with better endurance. Good genetics give you potential, but potential means nothing if the bird doesn't have the mentality to use it. A bird with champion genetics and soft mentality will lose to a bird with average genetics and tough mentality every single time. The problem with expensive champion birds is they're often raised in conditions that create soft mentality. Luxury breeding lofts, perfect care, no struggle. These birds develop entitlement. They expect easy success. When races are hard, they quit. Meanwhile, birds from humble backgrounds, birds that had to fight for survival, birds that overcame injury or hardship, these birds have hunger. They appreciate every meal. They push through fatigue. They don't quit. That mentality wins races. So what happened to my Belgian champions? I still have one left. The other 4 died or were lost over the years. The remaining one is now 5 years old. He's never won a race. He's placed in prizes maybe 10 times total over 5 years. I use him for breeding now. I pair him with hens that have tough mentality. His genetics mixed with proven tough-minded hens produces decent offspring. Not great, but decent. His babies perform better than he ever did, which proves the point. Genetics from a champion bloodline aren't worthless, but by themselves they're not enough. You need the right management, the right conditioning, the right mentality. Stray is now 5 years old too. He's still racing. He doesn't win every race anymore. He's older, but he's consistent. He places top 20 in most races. He's earned back his purchase price, which was $0, probably 1,000 times over in prize money and offspring sales. Best return on investment I've ever had in pigeon racing. The lesson from all of this is simple, but it cost me $12,000 to learn it. Don't buy success. Build success. Don't rely on genetics. Build mental toughness. Don't pamper your birds. Condition them to be fighters. The most expensive bird in the world won't win races if it doesn't have hunger. A free bird with fight will beat expensive soft birds every time. I see new fanciers make the same mistake I made. They start racing. They have average results. They think the solution is buying better birds. They spend thousands of dollars on champion genetics. The expensive birds arrive. The fancier is excited, but the results don't improve. Sometimes they get worse. The fancier is confused. They spent all that money. The birds have perfect pedigrees. Why aren't they winning? Because genetics don't fly races. Birds fly races. And birds need more than genetics. They need proper management. They need conditioning. They need mental toughness. They need hunger. If you're thinking about buying expensive birds right now, I want you to really consider whether that's the solution to your problem. Are your current birds performing poorly because they have bad genetics? Or are they performing poorly because your management needs improvement? Be honest with yourself. Most times it's management, not genetics. Better feeding practices, better training protocols, better loft environment, better health management, better conditioning. These improvements don't cost thousands of dollars. They cost time and discipline, but they produce better results than buying expensive birds ever will. I'm not saying never buy birds. I still buy birds occasionally, but now I focus on buying birds from fanciers who have excellent management. I want birds that were raised right, conditioned right, develop mental toughness. I don't care if they have famous bloodlines. I care if they have proven character. A bird that placed 20th in races but flew through a storm to get home is more valuable to me than a bird that placed 5th in perfect weather but quit when conditions got tough. Stray taught me to value character over pedigree, to value fight over genetics, to value management over expensive purchases. That $20 stray bird was worth more than my $12,000 of Belgian champions. Not because he had better genetics. He probably had worse genetics, but he had better mentality. He had hunger that luxury birds never develop, and that hunger made him a champion. So when people ask me now, should I buy expensive birds? I tell them Stray's story. I tell them about my $12,000 mistake. I tell them genetics matter less than they think. And I ask them, have you maximized your management yet? Have you built mental toughness in your current birds? Have you conditioned them properly? If the answer is no, then buying expensive birds won't fix your problems. Fix your management first. Build tough birds from whatever genetics you have, and you'll get better results than buying champions ever could give you. Stray is still in my loft. He's retired from racing now. Too old, but he's my best breeder. His offspring win consistently. His grandchildren win consistently. People pay me for his babies now, not as much as Belgian champions cost, but decent money. And the buyers get better results than they'd get from expensive genetics, because Stray's offspring carry his mentality. They have fight, they have hunger, they don't quit. That's worth more than any pedigree. I have Stray's grave plot picked out, next to Apollo. When Stray eventually dies, he'll be buried with honor, right next to the champion who taught me about early disease detection. These two birds, Apollo and Stray, taught me the most important lessons of my pigeon racing career. Apollo taught me about management and vigilance. Stray taught me about character over genetics. Together they made me a better fancier than any amount of money could have. So if you take anything from this video, take this. Don't buy success. Build success. Don't chase genetics. Build character. Don't pamper birds. Condition fighters. Your best bird might not be the expensive one with perfect pedigree. Your best bird might be the free one that had to fight to survive. Watch for those birds. Value those birds. They're the real champions.